Where in this world could you progress from one career to another and periodically get operatic contracts, take a leave of absence, come back and reinvent yourself in yet another career? I don't know if there's any other place in the world where a single woman could do such a thing. In so many places in the world where once you enter a profession, that's where you stay for your entire life. My own grandfather started at age 18 as a messenger boy for the Santa Fe Railroad. And there's where he worked for the next 50 years until he progressed and became a chairman of the board at an important part of the Santa Fe Railroad. But he never escaped that one company. That was how people lived. My grandmother was not allowed to work, nor was she allowed to drive. And she got her driver's license finally at the age of 75. And then my grandfather wouldn't let her drive the car. But she was determined to have that taste of freedom, even if only for a moment. I'm one of those people that's taken freedom to an extreme. I've reinvented myself so many times. You know that word, that Bible verse says you must be born again? Well, I just took that to a whole new level. And I think I've lived like 10 or 20 lives in this one, crammed them all into this one life. So here's a question for you. What are you doing with your wonderful, unique, fabulous freedom? What are you doing with it? Some people in America are overwhelmed by the choices. Our children grow up. If they grow up in a even low to middle class home, they watch television. They see all of these possibilities. Everybody's got to have all kinds of devices these days. When I was coming up, long ago, we got a TV, a black and white TV, and we thought that was pretty cool. We used to watch the Ed Sullivan Show. Anybody old enough to remember that? Okay, well, now there's a TV, there's a DVR. I don't know what the DVR is, but something about recording things. There's a wiki. No, it's a Wi-Fi. There's iPods. There's probably more modern stuff than iPods. There's those little plug-in devices that they're this big. You can put in your computer and copy like 1 million things. Oh, my God. And everybody's got to have one of these things, right? Everybody's got to have so many different things. And when I went to buy a new car for the first time in 12 years, they said, well, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want the GPS? Do you want the They just went off a list of all kinds of stuff. I didn't even know what they were. In fact, it was so terrible with all the buttons and things on this car. I went to register it at the DMV. And because I bought it out of state, I bought it in Nevada, where my son lives, I had to do some special thing that they had to check on the car. So I went to the DMV and the lady says, okay, please pop the hood. I went, just a minute. I opened my manual. I'm looking, which of these many millions of buttons? Couldn't find it. Looked all over. Could not find the button for popping the hood. Finally, the lady got tired and she just leaned over and she reached under something and she found the button. And she said, this is a new car. You don't know anything about it, do you? I said, no. So, freedom can sometimes be overwhelming. A child reaches the age of 18, and now there are spread before him or her seemingly infinite possibilities for what they can be in this life. And we take that for granted, but also it can be scary. And so sometimes we run and grab onto something that represents security to us. And we just hold on for dear life because in this country, you can educate yourself to the nth degree. You can become a nuclear physicist. You can become an astronaut. There's nothing that you can't do. And if you're determined enough, you can jump from profession to profession to profession, as I did, as my mind expanded according to what I thought the possibilities were for me. So what are you doing with your freedom? People are trying to get into this country in droves. You know why? Because anything is possible. They truly believe this. In fact, I listened to an interview by a man who had come to this country from another very oppressive and repressive country. And he said, this is a wonderful country. You can become anything. Every possibility exists. But you have to be as rich as God to live here. Because in his little village, it was cheap. You went to the open marketplace for a few shekels or reals or what kind of money they were using. You could get your meal, and it was pretty cut and dried. Here, you are faced with unbelievable possibilities and the responsibility that goes along with that, with your choices. Because nobody is checking up on you. Nobody is policing you. Nobody is going to force you into a profession that you don't want to go into. You may be forced by financial needs, but no person is going to infringe upon your freedom unless you allow it. So Dr. Holmes, I love that quote I read. He says, nature awaits our comprehension. Let's talk about true freedom. True freedom. The great thing about this teaching is, all of these different things I said I did I left out about 20 other ones in my lifetime, all had to do with increasing my comprehension about what was possible. Not only what was possible for a single woman in this country, but where was the level of my comprehension of my freedom to choose. And nature is filled with good. One of the things that Dr. Holmes says, good, and more good is mine. An ever-increasing good is mine. Unlimited good is mine. And one of the reasons I wrote a song about it was because we sometimes find that hard to believe. This is kind of likened to a person who is poor, who is starving, and who is facing this way. And behind that person is an unlimited table filled with every kind of good, every kind of possibility. And as a minister, I encourage you, just turn around and take something. Choose anything you want. You're actually rich. I've never been rich. This has been my life. It's going to continue to be my life. I've been poor all my life. I've been struggling all my life. I've been a victim all my life. And so trying to get people to believe that nature awaits our comprehension. Our comprehension of what? Of the total vast good that is ours in unlimited amounts. There is no limit to the good that you can experience in your life, but it requires your comprehension. You have to awaken to it. A good friend of mine, minister, said, if you're going through hell, don't stop and build a condo. Move on through, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? And some people stop, and that's where they build their house. That's where their consciousness puts down roots. I'm telling you that because of where you live, to a large degree, you have unlimited good available to you. And if you will embrace that possibility, not just in the fact that we're in America, but also you are within the infinite spirit of good, and it is within you. And if you take some time to study the nature of that spirit, that infinite good, it doesn't matter whether you call that God, Allah, Atman, it just doesn't matter. It is the intelligence back of all things. It is the life force in all living forms. And it certainly is within you. If you will take some time to comprehend it, nature awaits your comprehension. You can have a beautiful plot of ground, and all that you have to do is prepare it, water it, give it a little fertilizer, and then if you plant the seeds, guess what'll happen? They grow. The entire plant already exists within this little dead-looking seed. An entire corn stalk resides within that tiny kernel. Can you believe that? One time I became so fascinated with corn, and my students know this about me because they laugh, because I cry when I go by cornfields. I just burst into tears of joy. Because have you ever watched a corn stalk grow? It's such a complicated thing. Big, thick stalk, and then it has to have the leaves come out. Then it has to form the pockets, and inside the pockets there's all this silky, stringy stuff. And then it has to have the kernels, and up it goes. And pretty soon there's a little top notch that rains pollen down. I mean, that's a very complicated plant. And I was in this sort of Buddhist frame of mind, I call it my Buddhist period, where I would watch corn grow. And I was so impressed by the intelligence within this plant, how it knew how to do all that complicated stuff. And I also planted peas, and I looked as a little tendril came out, searching for something to pull itself up on. How does it do that? Does it have eyes? I mean, really, it would find whatever was available and pull its heavy little self right up so it could reach the sunshine. Wow, I was so impressed. I saw the divine intelligence working in, as, and through the plants. And I became deeply moved. I experienced spirit, the divine, in the plants. And it's so wonderful. All that potential in a tiny little seed. The entire oak tree is in the acorn in potentiality. So nature awaits our comprehension. It means it's there for us to use. It's there for us to grow our good in all kinds of different forms, but we have to understand a bit about how it works. So I love the fresh produce that Ken and Marilyn bring in from their organic farm. They travel all over the state taking organically grown produce. And it's so perfect. It's so delicious. And guess why? Because he has grown to understand and comprehend the laws of nature. And you could say nature was just waiting for him to come along and celebrate that possible good. And he's been very successful as an organic farmer. That's wonderful. Ernest Holmes further says that humanity's bondage is a result of the ignorance of its true nature. Humanity's bondage is a result of the ignorance of your true nature. Any of you ever felt in bondage to something or someone? Anybody ever been stuck in a job you don't like? Anybody ever been married to someone you don't like? Anybody ever been in a religion you didn't like? Yeah. It says it's the result of our ignorance. And what does that mean? We are sometimes ignorant of the degree of our freedom. The hardest thing to pry away from someone in counseling is their perception of themselves as a victim. It seems like if you've ever been victimized as a young child, that pattern exists in your subconscious mind, and you will attract to yourself over and over and over again experiences of victimization until you remove that and you're healed from it forever. So here's the truth. You're not a victim. You've never been a victim. Experiences that you may have had, you can learn from and release them. You can take whatever good you can get from them and release them. You can even bless the victimizer if you really have an elevated consciousness. And bless them for bringing you to a place where you could experience healing, where you could experience yourself as a forgiving individual, so that you could go on in life more strong, more peaceful, more joyous, and truly, truly free. You will have learned how to be free if you're a former victim. There's the opportunity there. Humanity's bondage is nothing but the result of the ignorance of your true nature. You are sacred. You are divine. You are part of that which knows what it's doing by means of every form. That intelligence knows what it's doing by means of a corn, a kernel of corn, by means of an acorn, by means of a little pea plant. I love to plant things and watch them grow because there's an intelligence at work there. Once I planted broccoli. This was, like I said, in my Buddhist period, I was just really like in touch with nature. And I planted broccoli, and some kind of pest, it came up, it was beautiful, some kind of pest ate it right down to the nub. But back it came again. And once again, it blossomed, it got big. And once again, well, something ate it right down to the nub. Right down to the ground. The third time back it came again. It was really strong this time. And I was so impressed with its tremendous spirit that I wouldn't even eat it. I said, you deserve to live. So I let it just go to flower. I was like, yeah, I'm rooting for you, Buckley. You know. There is a storehouse of nature filled to the brim with good that simply awaits your recognition of it and your participation in it. And part of that participation depends upon your ability to see how truly free you are. Intelligence works with the law intelligently. Set aside all roles that you have taken on, role of victim, of being in bondage to anything or anyone, or just habitually not utilizing your greatest talents and skills to the nth degree that you could. If you set aside all forms of ignorance and you work intelligently with the universal law, you can demonstrate any good at all. If you can conceive it and you believe it, you can demonstrate it, you can experience it. Experience actually teaches us what is worthwhile. So when I was a roller skating car hop, while nursing a baby every 2 hours, at the end of an 8-hour shift, my feet would look like hamburger meat. And I said, there must be something better than this. When I was scrubbing other people's floors while bringing my 2 children to work with me, something said there must be better, something more elevated that I could be doing. Not that there's anything wrong with any form of work. Work is what you bring to it, really. All work is sacred. It's an expression of your sacred self. But I wanted to use my talents. I wanted to discover what they were. I wanted to see how far I could develop myself. And so putting myself through university, I was very poor. But I just kept envisioning more good, and more good. So experience teaches you, as you're going along, what is worthwhile. You may have found a lot of things that aren't worthwhile. I loved Mary J. Blige has had a hit. She's a soul artist, and one of her songs was, "This is a no drama zone." Yeah. What if you decided that your life is a no drama zone, and that you could just release drama and trauma? You could release people that are negative or harmful, and you could just put peace at the very top of your priority list. My top priority is peace of mind. And so this is a no drama zone, and only those who are harmonious can come into my experience. You could declare that, and you could make that a law in your life. Ernest Holmes says we have to develop the capacity to understand how life works. You know, some people think if you change a job, if you change a spouse, if you change your location, that everything will be better. That's not what I'm saying. Because as the Buddhists have said, wherever you go, there you are. Yeah, you're always taking yourself. It's not like you can leave yourself and take somebody else. Wherever you go, there you are. But you have this unlimited potential to experience yourself as so much more. I'm not talking about an ego trip. I'm talking about an experience of spirit moving in, as, and through you as something greater than you ever imagined possible. Not only blessing you, but making you a blessing to everyone you meet, every life you touch. The Bible has said this. So many different spiritual teachers have said this. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Free to do what? Free to be fabulous. He says there is something hidden in your inner being that has never been violated. That eternal voice whispering within your ear, telling you what's possible. So I'm encouraging you today to throw all your excuses away. Dr. Clancy and I once taught a class. The title was some kind of pompous-sounding thing. We decided we didn't like the title. So we changed the title of the class to Stop Whining and Start Winning. You're in the best possible place, not only the United States of America, but in this center, where we're not telling you what to believe. We're not telling you what to think. We're helping you learn how to think in such a way that your freedom comes alive for you. That's why we're here. You have the freedom to reinvent yourself. You are in the right country at the right time, doing the right thing. You're in the right spiritual community. And you are here, and it clearly shows you how to use the power of your thought and your word to call forth good. I'm going to ask the band to come back down because for me, the truth, the easiest way for me to get the truth is to write it.